So early on, maybe after the first month of the electrical work, we found ourselves near Yosemite. There was actually a major fire right by where we were staying. And I thought this is the ideal opportunity to watch this guy's comedy special that has wasted 18 months of my life. I wanted to see what this thing was about. I wanted to see why he used the name. I wanted to see why it was so important to take 22 years of my life's work and stick it to me in this nonsense. And so I sat down and I watched the comedy special. And it was interesting. It's only an hour long. It's filmed in a very curious fashion. It's very low budget in terms of its appearance, and clearly there's a disconnect here. I think the guy got, 10 million from Netflix last year. So the view is, can they make their 10 million more than their 10 million by holding all rights and all this kind of stuff? I don't think they'll do it. Very strange thing watching this thing. There's no explanation through the entire thing why it's called Noble Ape. There's nothing. I mean, my suspicion is probably he was in China or something. Maybe he saw some monkeys or something. Who knows? But there's no explanation within this comedy special associated with why it's called Noble Ape. None whatsoever. In fact, it's so short that it concluded, and I was like, what? I was actually working on Noble Ape at the time, ironically. It concluded, and I was like, what has gone on here? Like, he hasn't explained anything. So there's a bunch of xenophobic humor associated with the British, funnily enough. I mean, he goes to China, but no Chinese things, just the British. That's a big bit. Some jokes associated with West Coast folk. Some really strange, slight homophobic stuff, muttered under his breath, homophobic slur. Just all very curious. I realized that I'm in no way the demographic associated with this fellow's humor. And I don't know, the whole thing was just really bizarre and somewhat disturbed watching this thing in Yosemite as the fires were swirling around us. Because I just thought, what is the purpose of this thing? 18 months of nonsense for what? So this guy can call his alleged comedy special the name of my project for the past 22 years? For what? Just mind boggles, mind blown with this nonsense. So, funnily enough, I'm continuing to do what I'm doing. He's promoting Chappaquiddy and all the other stuff he's working on in the future. So, no late for him was, who knows, this thing. He made some money, I'm sure, with the tour. Who knows what he's made with the comedy special. I was the only non-professional reviewer. Look, there's a bunch of additional stuff associated with what goes on to promote this kind of nonsense. But yeah, I was the only person who left a review on Rotten Tomatoes. The only human. They paid for a bunch of reviewers, which are all professional critics, you know. But yeah, I understand why we are where we are intellectually now. I understand why the quality of content that is being produced is so unbelievably low in general. And that is what happens, right? So in contrast to this, I'd been working on Noble Ape, enjoying myself. And I think this is a footnote of some curious proclivity of some alleged comedian and his attorneys. But yeah, it made no sense to me. And it made me realize that I shouldn't search for meaning in these kind of things. In fact, I should just assume that they're meaningless and stupid and have nothing to do with anything. And that should be my bare stance here. Because hoping to see some glimmer of why this guy would call his comedy special the name of my open source project. Clearly a bar too high in current circumstances. Clearly in no way attached to any semblance of what reality seems to present. With this in mind, I think in particular music. The music is an interesting offshoot of this. I've got 9 tracks that I want to record in September and put out. It's interesting, we're doing a lot of inclusion training at work, and I'm reflecting very heavily associated with cultural appropriation. Is my use of spoken language appropriation? I have a track where I actually explain it, that I used to sing, but I don't sing anymore, and I explain why I don't sing. So is it possible that one can take another form? And what is the strange Australian thing? I mean, unfortunately, we have an Australian, I guess you'd call her a rapper, who has really made a very bad name for herself. So is any Australian who attempts to speak to a beat, is that all downhill? I don't know. But I'm going to put out 9 tracks and try to work my way through it, because it's certainly one of the things that I'm fascinated by through this process. And something that I felt was clearly misappropriated was the name of my open source project that some schmuck has been touring with for the past 18 months. that is all now over. That is all gone. And I don't think he's going to be winning anything associated with this particular part of his existence. The strangest thing through this comedy special, was that he didn't even really talk much about his wife's brain tumor. Like, all the things that he did a lot of press associated with, not really in the comedy special. Just a means of getting people to throw down their money and watch this garbage for about an hour. Quite an expensive hour, actually, when you look at it. Anyway, that's over now.